joining you guys live from the Maldives. It is Kevin Michael Schmitz. I'm celebrity fashion photographer, TV director, and executive producer of the TV show Great Escapes that airs on CBS. And I am joining you live from the Maldives. And it is now about 11 o'clock at night. So it's late here. But I wanted to join with you guys to go over some epic stuff that we went and shot throughout the last, we're spending about 20 days here filming for my TV show Great Escapes. That airs on CBS, and we're filming incredible travel and resort content, and we're going to be going in depth about that, and I'm going to be showcasing all kinds of amazing content that we shot with drones, that we shot with my Canon R5s, which are 8K cameras that are SLR cameras, but mirrorless, that we're shooting on gimbals, and can also shoot in 120 frames a second of 4K, as well as some amazing content that we've been shooting on the drones. And we've been using some incredible equipment, which is the DJI Mavic Pro 3, which the 3 is amazing because it also films in 120 frames a second at 4K, which is very, very unique. So we're going to be going over equipment. We're going to be going over all the gear. I'm going to showcase actually all of it, the stuff that I have with me, and kind of give you guys and reveal some of the strategies and tips of how I make all this magic happen. So it's going to be a pretty fantastic webinar, and I encourage all of you guys to ask some questions. Ask some stuff on the chat, and I'd love to get to as many as possible. And if you guys don't get a chance to go over or get your question answered live, we can also set up a one-on-one photographic momentum session on travel and resort photography. So if you want to learn a little bit more one-on-one, we are offering this week a free one-on-one session with one of my professional photographic consultants. I definitely recommend doing this. We have some incredible people that are on my team that you can meet with personally, have them review your portfolio, your website, and get in depth about your photography, because that's really what matters, right? Now, of course, today we're going to showcase some of the awesome stuff that I've been shooting here with my team, and it's pretty it's pretty beautiful, and I'm really excited because I just absolutely love shooting content that is just, out of this world visuals, stuff that just blows, it almost looks otherworldly. And when I'm creating this content, I feel like, wow, I mean, it's straight out of National Geographic. And we also, by the way, we are shooting oftentimes with camera operators from National Geographic, and that's really exciting as well. I did want to actually go over some of that too. In fact, one of my favorite and amazing camera operators, Kareem Ilya, he had worked with me on multiple episodes of Great Escapes. And he just happened to be selected for the Moon project, and he not only has been my camera operator for years, but he also is now going to be shooting and doing photography and video from space. And orbiting through near the moon, which is really exciting. And I'm really excited because I just announced that, and he's going to be one of the first creatives up in space that's going to be doing an amazing project. So anyway, we have a lot of amazing people on my team, and also one of my favorite camera operators, Ralph van der Veerdonk from Veerdonk Visuals, also has created some amazing content. We're going to showcase and see some of that today as well. And then, of course, there's also a lot of great content that I have been shooting personally, because I do a lot of this footage myself. But of course, any of the content that I'm hosting or that I'm in, I've got to have a camera operator shoot it. So sometimes I'm in it, sometimes I'm not in it, but I'm shooting it. But the content that I'm going to be showing you today, some of this stuff right off the bat is actually stuff that we shot here on location over the last few days in the Maldives. Now, the Maldives, and many of you guys are, of course, would love travel. You guys love travel photography and filming. And, many of you guys are photographers, but I also have some directors on here. Some of you guys are using drones. Some of you are not. But we're going to be showcasing content shot with regular SLR mirrorless cameras, as well as some underwater cameras, which usually we use, like, say, Canon R5, but we put it in an underwater body. And then we are going to be showcasing content, of course, aerial drone, R5 on the gimbal, and then underwater as well. So anyway, now some of the kind of strategies that I like to use, I really love to have content that is smooth. And if you notice, now this is raw content, okay? This is unedited. I'm gonna show you some edited videos a little later, but this is some of the unedited raw footage. The colors, yes, really look this real, this vibrant, this colorful. This is completely non-adjusted. This is, now you notice what I just did there. There was a little bit of a rotation in the drone. That was just basically taking the drone and adjusting the perspective of it, rotating back and forth. And then once I saw the right perspective, now I'm going to move smoothly in. Now, when I'm rotating the drone, essentially rotating it left to right, that's not really the best way to film. Okay. And a lot of photographers make that mistake, and filmmakers. So what I suggest is only use the rotating side to side as a way to kind of refocus the drone. So if you kind of saw that quickly in this footage, now I'm doing nice smooth movements with the drone, okay? So just as a tactic, one of the things, I love this shot right here, the Maldives is literally one of the greatest places, no, I should say the greatest place on earth. And I'm a TV travel host. I've been all over the world. I've been, filming episodes of my show in Bora Bora, to Latahaha, Kiora, Rangiroa, Tokyo, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Maui, Kauai. I've shot episodes in the Maldives, all over the world. And still to this day, after all of this, the Maldives is my favorite place on earth. It is so next level. It is so world class. And what I love about it is that, of course, it's the one island, one resort concept. Now, for a photographer and a filmmaker, this is a dream come true, because what that means is when you're shooting aerial drone and you're getting those smooth shots, I don't have to worry about a bunch of junk in the scene. And I actually just got back. I was filming a month in Bali and Komodo Island with Komodo dragons, and in Labuan Bajo and Flores. I also was shooting throughout Bali, as well as the Gili Islands. I then also was shooting in Australia, and then I've just spent the last, we're spending 20 days here filming in the Maldives. Now, all those other places other than the Maldives, they're a challenge because, they have beautiful places, but there's cities, there's people, there's trash, there's things that you don't want in the scene. Whereas in the Maldives, everything from above is perfect. I mean, it's literally like storybook, right? So I love this kind of stuff because you see how easy it is to film and you see these smooth strokes, right? Now, what I mean by that is I'm turning my drone to a smooth setting. Now, there are 3 different settings on this specific drone. And by the way, I'm actually going to showcase with some. You guys are seeing the content, right? But what I want to show you also is my equipment. So I'm shooting with this. This is the controller for the Mavic 3, and I have my iPad attached to it. And then I just when I'm operating this bad boy, I've got a nice big screen, which is fantastic. But also, if you look down here, there are different modes. Okay, so on this, I recommend starting off with Cine mode. A lot of people are not using, they're using normal. I like Cine mode just because it's slow. It's the slowest mode. I then, in the content I just showed you, most of it was shot in Cine mode. And the reason I like that is I like things that are smooth. The smoother you go, the better it's going to be. And oftentimes when we're watching movies, you're watching cinema, it's all shot in Cine. It's shot in Cine because it's very, very, they want that smooth look, that beautiful cinematic feel. It's very, very important. And in most films and TV, everything is set up like that, right? Okay. Now, and by the way, guys, At each one of, I'm a TV director, executive producer, and my entire career has been shooting photography, from starting out in landscape photography, like you're watching with all this amazing content. And actually that's how I started. I did my bachelor's, my MFA to be a professor of photography, but I also sold my photography. Early in my career, it's how I got through college, was selling my photography. Now, in doing so, though, I've kind of learned a lot about, all aspects of, what do you want to photograph? Are you going to photograph people? You're going to photograph landscape. You're going to photograph artistic stuff. You're going to photograph fashion, lifestyle, all these different things. And obviously we're looking at landscape now, but we also offer mind-blowing, world-class photographic workshops in all different facets of photography. Everything from shooting high-end fashion to doing resort lifestyle, to also doing swim photography in Miami Beach, to doing, and by the way, guys, if you guys are interested in any of this like travel and resort photography, now, of course, we're seeing a lot of like beautiful landscape aerial shots, but we're also going to get in depth a little bit more about the shooting people at these locations too. And we do that with a lot of our lifestyle workshops, just like we're going to be doing in Newport Beach in just a few weeks. We've got our epic Newport Beach lifestyle commercial advertising workshop, which also relays really well with resort. And then we're also going to be doing our Miami Beach workshop, which is happening in April, where it's specifically on resort lifestyle photography, shooting basically resort content. And that's with people. Obviously, we've got top supermodels that we're shooting with from Miami. And then we are shooting with drones, shooting with on-the-ground cameras, using obviously your photographic cameras. And then we're filming with R5s on a gimbal. So you'll have opportunity to film that. And then if the weather permits, we'll also shoot underwater with my underwater camera housing, shooting with the R5 underwater. Okay, so anyway, I just want to kind of showcase to you guys a little bit of this equipment, and also some of the movements. Okay, so when you guys are looking at the movements, you notice that everything is smooth, right? I'm going right to left, left to right, up and down, like basically forward and back. And this is obviously a right to left right now, or forward and back, and then or diagonal, or I'm going parallax. Meaning I'm going to be like essentially turning and rotating. I'm basically rotating and turning and moving all at the same time. And the parallax is obviously the hardest, as you can imagine, but it also looks really cool. Now, a lot of this stuff is not parallaxing. Most of this is just side to side because I'm really high up. I'm actually filming this one at about maybe 1.5 miles out from where I was at the resort. And then also it's about 1,500 feet up. So I think this was the height, the top height that the drone can film here. So, and by the way, guys, this beautiful content, I just shot it with this little bad boy. We are shooting with, this is that Mavic 3. And this is what we use actually at the workshops as well. So you guys will have an opportunity to work with this thing. So all this content, it's all shot in 4K with this bad boy, the Mavic Pro 3. Love this thing, best drone I've ever had. And shooting in 4K at 120 frames a second, so meaning 4K in slow-mo is incredible. Also shoots in RAW for the still photography. So if you ever see some of the images I'm bringing on that are still, obviously those were still images shot in RAW with this thing, and straight out of camera. Everything you see here, none of it is edited. But very easy drone to operate. Battery life, you can usually get about 15 to 20 minutes out of the battery on this thing. And battery just opens up here, and you can kind of see how much battery life is in it. But really the drone is just limited by your battery life. And I usually put like a pretty sizable memory card in. It goes into the slot here. I've got the 256 gig mini SD on this thing, so you can shoot quite a bit. I never really run out of space with that thing. But I do love using the iPad as my screen, or you can also get the built-in screen on the controller. I just personally like a really big screen, so I like the iPad. That's a great way to do it. All right, guys, you all asking a lot of great questions. And by the way, I'm sorry, Singerman, you asked the one-on-one free session. How do we access that? I'm going to put the link in the chat so that you can set up your own one-on-one strategy session, and you can go in depth with one of our photographic consultants. Definitely recommend that. A lot of our photographers that have been working with us, because we've been around for 14 years, we've directed over 100. God, we've had like I don't even know how many workshops we've had at this point. It's just limitless, the amount of workshops we've done over the years. But over the last 14 years, it is an enormous amount of massive scale productions. And with so many, our photographers have created content that have literally taken them to the highest level that they ever even imagined. From landing major campaigns to landing photographic agents to winning major photographic awards, or just maybe increasing how much money they are earning as a photographer. But we have had some incredible success, and I'm really, really proud of everything we've been doing over the years. It's been absolutely spectacular. By the way, if you guys want to see, I know I was just showing you some raw footage, but now I'm also going to be showcasing some really great stuff that's going to be some of the edited content. And if you guys wanted to get a little bit in depth about the content of what we are showcasing for my TV show, this is a great way to see it. So right now, this is essentially more of like a final cut. This was actually a preview for the bucket list, which is essentially this content we shot during Great Escapes. And this is going to be to give you a little idea of what we shot in Bora Bora. Hopefully this comes on clear. But this is an edited version. This is just a teaser of the episode shot in Bora Bora. As you can see, some amazing content. And this kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of some of those moments, right? Now, of course, the show, it's essentially a show that's all about travel, go to the most ultra luxury destinations around the world and experiencing them. And in Great Escapes, we've been doing it for years now. I think it started airing in 2017, and we've been shooting it now for years. We've shot some unbelievable content all over the world. So it's really, really fun. Also, if you guys have, you want to set up that Zoom, that one-on-one Calendly session, just you can set up an appointment, and we will work with you guys on essentially anything you want to go over with your photographic imagery, coaching, guidance, any of that stuff. Because for us, we really want to help you. We really want to help guide you. It's really important to us that you're going to succeed this year. And because of that, we're offering this awesome opportunity for our photographers to really master their career in 2023. And that's why we set up these Zoom strategy sessions for those who attend these webinars, because I really want you guys to go out there and kick butt this year. It's really important to me. I want you guys to be successful. That's like everything to me. That's why I'm here to help, motivate you guys, to help give you guys some guidance, some strategy, and most importantly, help you guys succeed at the highest level to achieve the goals that you've always wanted to do. Okay, so I'm going to set this up in our chat. I want you guys to click on this to set up a one-on-one photographic strategy session. And again, you can go over your photographic portfolio. You can go over your, anything that you want with your photographic business, and essentially really kind of discover what's next in your photographic career. And we can help you with that every step of the way. So, all right, guys, and let's see here. All right. Sorry, for some reason, it is pausing video. But I'm going to be sending the link. And I want you guys to make sure to set this up, because, guys, we are here to really see what you can do, and making sure that if you want to be a master travel and resort photographer and you don't really know where to begin, you don't really know, how to achieve that, then we're here for you. that's really what this is about. So there's that link in the chat, and let me know if you guys can set up an appointment, because I'd love to. And if it's not working for you, please let us know. Yes, and yeah, so if you guys have any more questions, we have a million of them on here. Okay, so Wheaton Mahoney asks, when the time comes, can you recommend a drone that is high end to print stills, 6x8? Are you referring to a giant like 6 foot by 8 foot still, Wheaton? If that's the case, then I would say that there are some drones where you can mount an SLR camera to them. These are larger scale drones that generally you would rent from a rental house, and you would be mounting something like this, like a Canon R5 on there, and I'd probably put a wide angle lens like a 16-35 on it, and mount it from one of these drones to be able to film at and photograph something at 45 megapixels, for instance, and with a full frame. So something like that would be my recommendation if you wanted to blow up something massive and have it like really ridiculously razor sharp. Other than that, though, honestly, I have personally been printing, even for the holidays, as gifts for some people. I printed some beautiful landscape photography of content that I shot with the Mavic Pro 3 that blew up massive. I think the prints were about 3 feet by maybe 3 by 4 feet, and they were beautiful on canvas, and it printed really, really well. So honestly, this is a great drone for that. I think that it's very, very, very strong. Okay, M. Lowy asked, need FAA clearance to shoot at that altitude? That's a great question. So generally the drones, with the way that the software kind of geolocates you these days, what we do is the drone essentially tells you in the control panel. It'll tell you essentially, if you're might be violating FAA regulations in a certain area. That's why it has like a 1,500 foot limit. And also one kind of tip on that is when you launch the drone, it's really important to connect the drone and the controller and let it just sit for a little while before you launch it. I generally like to leave it to sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. This is after it's already connected. You open up the app, it's a DJI Fly app, and you open it, you connect it. It's connected to the controller essentially. So it's the connection's there, so you can see on the camera on your drone, but you haven't on your controller, but you haven't launched it yet. Wait about 5-10 minutes, and then it'll say the home point has been located. If it hasn't said that yet, you're only going to be able to go up an altitude of 100 feet. Which obviously you can't get much really high up, beautiful stuff at 100 feet. So you want to wait until the geo point has been located. Then that means that if for some reason the drone lost control, or it disconnected because maybe you're flying around mountains or buildings or whatever, it'll geolocate back to where it launched, and it will go and land right at that spot. And it's a safety thing too. So definitely make sure that when you guys are launching it, that you are very aware of what kind of altitude you can get. And generally, yes, because the size of these drones are pretty small, unless you're flying it near an airport or a really high security area, usually you can be okay with flying the drone to a certain level, and also the size of the drone. So they have some weight limits on that. So if you are extra worried about that, I would go with one of the minis, like the DJI minis, because the size and the weight is so small that it essentially you can get past a lot of the FAA regulations because the size of the drone is so small. So that's why they're making them smaller and smaller at DJI. That's the reason, is to kind of overcome any of those obstacles, because it's, you can of course get the FAA pilot's license, but you know what, I never did it, and I just never really needed to, even though I've shot campaigns using drones. These are $100,000 campaigns. I've shot television with drones. I've never honestly ran into a major issue. And I think that, and of course, if I'm traveling, it's totally different. In the Maldives, it's the Wild West. There's no, the only person that could ever bother you to be the resort itself, and the resort is the one that's hiring me or being a part of the TV show. So, but great question. Okay. Okay, another great question from Mark from Vietnam. You asked, how do you deal with talent for the production on location? So that's a great question. Oftentimes, if you're going to somewhere like the Maldives, you've got to travel with your talent. We're going to be seeing some content of that with the talent that's with me. So then essentially you got to travel because, there are not like, we're not going to be filming Maldivian models. We're going to be filming, models and talent, and in my case, a co-host from, back from the States. So generally, I'm bringing with, and I'm getting model releases as well. Okay, now. Taisha Barnes asks, how do you get involved with shooting for resorts at their expense? That's a great question. So there's a few different things that what I would suggest is, when you are pitching resorts, it depends on the angle you want to go. If you want to say you're photographing, you want to shoot the campaign for the resort, that's something totally different than if you just want to go and travel to the resort and maybe shoot for free. Stay for free, but shoot for them essentially. There's also, of course, shooting television where you're featuring the resort, and it's going to be in all kinds of publicity, and the resort's excited to have you there. So there's all these different kinds of ways of doing things. What a lot of influencers do, that are especially models, usually like model influencers, they do a ton of collaborations where they reach out to resorts and they're like, hey, I want to go to Velifushi in the Maldives, or I want to go to, this Four Seasons in Bora Bora, whatever. And I've got, 3 million followers. I'll post about your resort when I go, if you give me a 3-day comp stay or whatever. And they do. And you guys, I'm sure, see that on social media all the time, right? But if you want to, and then of course you have people like me who I'm photographing campaigns for resorts and clients, but I'm also shooting television. So in this case, I'm traveling here on behalf of a television show for CBS, and I'm filming for the resorts. Filming for the TV show, but at the resorts, and the resorts are covering everything. So everything's included. And if I'm bringing a team, they'll provide the overwater bungalows for my entire team. And it's a massive budget. So like the last, I don't know what it's going to be all said and done at this trip, but the last one I did with my whole crew, it was about $180,000 trip, completely comped for myself and my entire team. And that's with everything, all the overwater villas, all the, coordinating all the water sports, the underwater diving, if we're doing like skydiving, if we're doing all these excursions, the food, the all-inclusive packages. I mean, it's a pretty substantial thing, and they're comping everything because they're eager to have me shoot at the resort, right? And then of course I'm getting paid from the TV network to be there. And then we have what I wanted to coach you guys on today, which is actually shooting for the resorts. Now, this is something where a lot of photographers want to shoot for resorts, and you're like, okay, how do I do it? Right? I mean, shooting for resorts, how cool would it be to shoot this amazing, almost like National Geographic level content, but to be able to shoot it for a resort and get paid for it? How cool is that? Right? And a lot of you guys, of course, want to, because that's a dream come true of many photographers, is to essentially, shoot that amazing content, get paid to do it, and travel there. Now, a lot of this comes down to an epic portfolio, right? Now, I'm showing you a lot of really beautiful, like landscape photography and everything, which is great. But I also want to showcase to you guys some of more of the lifestyle stuff. Right? The lifestyle stuff is very, very in right now, because this is what resorts all want to showcase. They don't want to just show how beautiful the resort is. They want to also show the what you can do with the resort, how people feel at the resort, how you can create a whole energy around what being at that resort is all about, with the experience of being at the resort, right? So that's essentially what we want to showcase, is that experience. And I think that that's critically important. So what we're doing is we're developing a body of work of content that is essentially that slice of life kind of feel. Now, I'm going to show you a couple different reels now that are more in that vein, and to give you guys an idea of that content, right? So we've got of course, the content that's from my TV show that is exactly what we're doing throughout this trip, is this exact type of thing where essentially we're going to these amazing destinations, and we are, we're shooting them, right? We're shooting this great content. So we're creating this, this amazing content where it's, it's a combination of the aerial shots, the landscape shots, the beautiful content where you've got some of the, what we call B-roll of, of the resort itself, as well as content of, of people. So, and sorry, let's make sure this thing loads. But this is an example of some of this incredible, beautiful work. And I love this kind of stuff because it showcases not just the place, but what you can do in the place. Hopefully this thing, well, there we go. So you can see kind of, what people can do in that location. Of course, dealing with internet here in the Maldives, sometimes it can lag a little bit. All right, guys. All right, so let me go back to maybe showcasing some of the other content that can be viewable right here just off of the desktop. Let's see. I know, I want to show you guys one of these. This one's pretty cool. So showcasing something like this. This was shot yesterday, right at Cinnamon Velifushi, Maldives. This, you've got the model in the hammock. We're doing a pullback. So we're doing one of these modes where we're kind of moving back and up. And so, we're showcasing not just, the beauty of the resort, but also what a person could do at the resort. And, the relaxing aspect of laying over this unbelievable teal blue water, what that might feel like. And totally, she's laying down, sleeping, looking beautiful, enjoying life, just so posh, right? So something like this, is absolutely beautiful. And it's very nuanced. It's very simple. It's very clean. It's very graphically interesting. And it's generally a resort lifestyle. Okay. All right. These are all great questions too, guys. I'm trying to get to all of them right here. Okay, so Linda Houston asks, so this is not a beginner's introduction to travel photography. Do you offer this in another webinar or just masterclass strategy? Great question. I know this is a little bit more of the advanced stuff, but I also kind of went over some of the basics of drone shooting, photographing and filming. And I'm also going to go over a few basics here of some of the on the ground filming as well. So make sure to stay tuned for that because I'm going to be busting out the gimbal and showing you the equipment live and talking about essentially how I operate that beast. So if any of you guys have ever wanted to use a gimbal, or have used a gimbal and maybe want to master it, I'm going to showcase a little bit of that because that's also really fun and it's something you can use with your SLR, right? All right, guys. This is another one where, I showed you guys one where we're pulling back. Let's see, I'm going to showcase another one where we're kind of we're moving in, we're shooting in, right? So you can see it's nice and smooth. And instead of pulling back, I'm now moving in. Now, when I go into the editing bay with my editor, the editor is going to take just the best of the best, and we're going to clip these together, and they're only going to be a few seconds long, right? So each one of these clips probably cut in right there, and then probably cut out right around there, and then into another clip, into another clip, into another clip. But this just gives you an idea, something like that. But it starts out with a lot of beautiful design elements and showcasing some of the, the beauty of it, but then there's a person in it. And if you guys are into, like I say, architectural photography or filming, you shoot architecture, you shoot real estate or whatever, that's also a great way to kind of transition into travel and resort photography, because a lot of this stuff is, it works really, really well because they're looking for that too. Now, to approach these type of clients, if you want to shoot for Cinnamon Velifushi, or you want to shoot for Diamonds off Aruga or Diamonds through Fushi, which are the 3 resorts we've been filming at this trip, these are very expensive resorts. They're generally, these are $1,200 to $1,800 a night for these overwater villas with the all-inclusive package to stay here. So it's a very expensive resort. And if you want to go after these type of clients, you definitely need to start with building a body of work. And that's why I suggested the Miami workshop, because it's designed around resort lifestyle and creating amazing content that's in this vein that would work really, really well with a body of work that you could market to these resorts. So the idea is to market to the director of marketing who is at the resort. And sometimes you deal with their ad agency, and you deal with the creative director and the art producer at the advertising agency, or you deal directly with the director of marketing at the resort, and you pitch them. And you would write just a brief email with a link to your work and maybe one image in the email and a brief message about, hey, like I just shot this epic content at the SLS Miami Beach, which is where we shot at the workshop last year. And just shot this amazing content at the SLS Miami. We shot with these top supermodels. I'd love to be considered to shoot your next campaign. When are you looking at putting that together? When are you looking at putting that production into action? And then just write a short message. They might not respond to you, but then you would of course call, follow up, and keep emailing and calling until you get a response. Now, sometimes they're going to say, oh, well, we already have our content for the year. Okay, no problem. Call them up, talk to them about that. That's fantastic. Who you've been shooting with, how's it been going? Are you happy with it? Is there anything you want to do next year? And then just be in their ear so that maybe, comes time to shoot the next project, you're now in line because you've now built that relationship. Very, very, very important. And a lot of photographers, they're not thinking about that. They're just thinking about like now. I want to always think about the future. So I'm always building towards that future and setting myself up so that even if I'm not shooting the campaign now, I'm shooting the campaign for next year or the following year, and so on and so forth. Very important. So I want you always just thinking about that and really putting yourself out there. But of course, all of this comes down, you guys, to that portfolio to start with. It's very, very, very important. And one thing that's really important too is to realize, okay, when you're shooting these productions, whether I'm going to say fly to the Maldives and shoot something like this, or say I put something like this together in Miami Beach or Newport Beach or something, it's incredibly pricey, expensive. It's a lot to put on. It's a lot to put on. And this is coming from somebody like me who I'm regularly shooting six-figure campaigns. And when I'm shooting big campaigns, we have huge budgets to work with. And if you want to compete with someone like me that's shooting $100,000 to $200,000 ad campaigns, you better believe you better bring it with the body of work, with the portfolio, because you've got to compete at the highest level. And this is the reason that I designed the photography workshop series 14 years ago, is specifically to help photographers take it to the highest level of their potential, to be able to create content that you can now market and land those campaigns and be going against top photographers in the world to create mind-blowing content that is so next level that the clients are going to be wowed and dazzled. And they're going to be like, oh my gosh, all right, like I've got to go with you because your work is amazing. And I feel like, that I just can't believe how gorgeous this is. I want to shoot my campaign. This is, for instance, what we did at Miami Beach workshop. And this was on a swim day. So this was shot at a multi-million-dollar mansion in Key Largo with supermodels like Haley Maxfield, who was the cover of Playboy that month. We also had top models from Sports Illustrated and Victoria's Secret. And it was unbelievable. We also had a guest model right here, who is absolutely incredible as well. So, this to me, when you have content at this level, which you could use also for travel resort, because a lot of high-end resorts are looking for this stuff too, especially in places like the Maldives, and also Bora Bora and stuff like that. But having beautiful content that's smiley, that's fun, that's energized, and also beautiful with top models, really, really valuable. So the Miami workshop has a couple of days that's like this that is on swim, and it also has a few days that are specifically on a resort lifestyle, just like this. This is the kind of content that I want you guys really thinking about. This is the stuff that's going to make you more money than anything else you can do in photography. I mean, really, the highest paying of all photography is essentially automotive lifestyle photography. But after automotive lifestyle, any type of commercial lifestyle advertising is where the biggest money is in photography. So just like the images you see here, this was shot at a resort lifestyle Miami Beach workshop. And yes, this is very expensive to put on. we're shooting with some of the top models in the world here in Miami Beach that do lifestyle advertising. These are world-class top models. They're very expensive. We're working with the top hair stylists that are agency represented, the top makeup artists that are agency represented. I'll have four or five assistants on set waiting on you, making sure all the equipment is set up. We're shooting with giant scrims and bounces. We're photographing at these high-end luxury resorts on Miami Beach. We're also shooting in Key Biscayne. We also, you saw we shot in Key Largo at that multi-million-dollar estate. Unbelievable productions and creating content that is just completely next level. But it's equivalent of $100,000 a day production. So it's expensive. It's expensive to do a production, you know, and if you were to do it on your own, I mean, you could go cheap and you could, you know, maybe cut some corners and maybe wheel and deal and stuff and work with some people that are going to do stuff for less. But even at the end of the day, even if you do that, it might be between $40,000 and $50,000 to do it right. So, but I would say that to do it at the highest level, it needs to look like this. And you can't skimp. You can't go light on the production. You have to go all out. So unless you have a bankroll of $500,000 to do 5 days of shooting a massive scale production with RVs, motorhomes on set, film permits, the whole nine, and all the equipment, underwater gear, you know, aerial, on the ground, gimbals, shooting with the top stylists, the top models in the world, everything, or you come to one of our epic photographic workshops, like our Miami Beach workshop. And this is why we do it. We offer this to photographers so that they now have this opportunity to shoot the best content at the highest level. So when shooting something like this, and also this is something where this is a little bit of that kind of a mix between swim and resort lifestyle. So this is absolutely stunning. This was also shot at a Miami Beach workshop. And this was absolutely gorgeous. This was in collaboration with the SLS Miami Beach, which is a luxury resort on Miami Beach. And we shot out on in front with these top tier models. And these are some of the best models. Alexa Collins, she's a freaking huge model. Anastasia, Alexandra, these are unbelievable top models at the top agencies. And we got to work with the creme de la creme. This gives you a little bit of an idea of not only, you know, video kind of sequence of what we're shooting, but also even shows you a little behind the scenes too of how we're doing this as well. And to give you an idea of maybe how we're shooting some of this content as far as the actual footage, I'm going to show you guys some of what we're, you know, the equipment of how we're actually shooting it. So, all right, so we got to see that. Now I'm going to actually show you guys this beast. So when we're photographing, you know, this amazing content, we're going to film it with equipment as well, and you guys will be able to operate this bad boy. This is an amazing Ronin. It's the S2. I love this guy, and it also have the arms set up on it. And to operate this thing, and you definitely will be using this at the workshop. At the bottom, this essentially turns the energy on. Then we're going to, on the side, there's a show you guys. There's also the power button here to right there, dials it on. Okay. And then now, as you can see, now it engaged. So now I have a little dial on the back right here. And of course, this is pretty finicky. So I really only guide this little dial right here just so that I can kind of gauge and direct the camera into where I want to go. I'm kind of going back and forth, up and down, all this stuff. But the real purpose of this gimbal is to stabilize things, to keep things super, super clean and stable. So I'm going to be holding it like this, always two hands. And I'm going to be then kind of angling it into a certain position. And in this case, if I'm shooting lifestyle, I'm often shooting with my 16 to 35 millimeter, which I love. I've got this nice wide lens on here. So I've got this beautiful 16 to 35 millimeter. And sorry, 15 to 35 millimeter. And when I'm filming, I'm going to be turning my R5 on, and I'm going to be setting it to generally 120 frames a second. Now, the reason I do that is if I'm shooting something for like a resort, for instance, and we're photographing a beautiful sequence of these models, you know, having fun by the pool, or they're, you know, they're laughing, they're smiling, they're dancing, whatever. It's generally going to be kind of a slow-mo movement. So I'm going to set this at 120 frames a second, which is slow motion. And then what we have to do is our shutter speed needs to be a minimum of 125. So it's the same thing. The shutter speed kind of lines up with the frames per second. So you can do higher and faster shutter speeds. So you could go up to, you know, you go to 250, 500, 1,000. That's totally fine. You just can't go anything lower than 125 frames a second, or 125th on the shutter speed. So you set that 125th or above or faster, and then essentially set it to 120 frames a second. And I'm still, even though it films in 8K at 30 frames a second, which is standard TV, I can set it at 120 frames a second at 4K, which is beautiful. Really, really high resolution. And we're filming it all with full frame sensor, which is fantastic. So generally, I'm going to keep my ISO on this one. It has a lot of range because cinema cameras, you know, the native ISO on a cinema camera is 3,200, believe it or not, even though still photography, you usually want to keep it low, like 100. So this is a little different. It's kind of a hybrid. I generally keep it a little lower. So I'm generally keeping my ISO between 100, 200, 400 or so. I don't go too crazy, but I'm going to then adjust my aperture accordingly. But if I need to bump up my ISO into the 3,200 range, it still looks beautiful. But that is a big difference between a cinema camera and a photographic camera. Is the native ISO of a cinema camera is generally 3,200, which is crazy, but it's set for low light. And that's why people would put what they call neutral density filters on a camera to darken it down, so that if it brings in too much light and you're shooting outside in a bright day, I'm with a cinema camera. With this, generally I don't need to, because you know, it's an SLR. It does really well in ISO 100, 200, 400. So I'll generally shoot at a lower ISO. And then if I really want it darker, I'm generally going to adjust my aperture and close it down. I do like to have a fairly deep aperture. If I'm shooting stuff like we just did in Miami Beach there, I might shoot it like, say, f11 or f13, just because, even though it's beautiful, like that buttery look where it's just like their eyes in focus and everything else is not, I also am careful about the focus. So if I'm filming something and there's multiple models and say they're moving and my focus is, and I'm shooting at f2.8, it's going to be really easy for that to fall out of focus if they're moving, and they're going to be blurry. I don't want that. So if I go a little bit deeper with my aperture, it catches them razor sharp in focus, and everything looks beautiful. You don't have to worry about that so much. So I generally, as a rule of thumb, go slightly deeper aperture than I normally would, just to make sure that it's razor sharp if I'm shooting with multiple models. If it's one model, not a big deal. Okay. And guys, by the way, too, you know, I know that we're putting on this amazing webinar live from the Maldives. It's midnight here. I'm showing you all the gear. I'm kind of revealing a lot of my secrets and stuff, but I also want to hear from you guys. I want to hear more questions. I also would encourage you guys to answer in the polls, such as, like, you know, what is your budget for your photography, photographic portfolio? I'd love to hear that. And please, you know, tell us, because, you know, if that's something that you are currently investing in, you got to start thinking about the investment in your photography. All right. All right. You guys have a lot of great questions here. I want to get to as many as possible. All right. Do you find competition from local or regional photographers in the Asia region? How do you compete with costs on that? That's a great question. And I do want to kind of get into that. That is something that dealing with, obviously, in the Maldives, for instance, there are a lot of like Maldivian drone operators that are out of Male, which is the main city here. And of course, they charge next to nothing. So yes, that is a challenge. You're going to have to compete with that. The downside, the upside for you and the downside for them, is that they don't know what they're doing. Most of their drone operators are terrible. And, you know, if you come in with a much better portfolio, and especially if you shoot with any of the high-end brands in America, you'll be a lot more likely to land the actual campaign. They might bring the drone operator in to do just a few shots here and there, but to shoot an actual campaign, that's what we're talking about. That's where you have to build this epic portfolio, especially with the high-end camera equipment. And also that's why I recommend also shooting with gimbals and stuff like that, because these guys don't have gimbals. These guys don't have the upper tier equipment or know how to use it locally in a place like this. It's now, whereas Bali, I was just filming in Bali, that's a lot different. There's a lot of world-class photographers and cinematographers and directors there. A lot of them have relocated from Europe or Russia or Ukraine. And there's tons of them there. There are tons of them there, and they're doing amazing work. But there's also a lot of great production services too. So you can rent equipment. They have all the high-end ARRI Alexas, as well as the R5s and things like that as well. But great questions. All right, guys. Yeah, and then of course, they're going to be booking you based on your brand. That's really what it comes down to. They're going to be booking you based on your brand, and if you have a high-end brand, you can compete globally, and that's what I do. Very, very important. Okay, so guys, with this equipment, the key with this is that we're going to be, I don't want to have it kind of running the whole time. I want to have this camera recording in segments. Okay, so the record button's on the top, and I'm going to be just pressing record right here, or you can also do it on the back screen. And I'm going to be recording just each segment that I'm going to be filming. And oftentimes what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be moving and operating from one side to the next. And I like to do movements like this, right to left, left to right, as well as down to up to down, and or I could be moving in or pulling back. Those are some of the most basic movements that I like to use the gimbal for. And I'm generally going to be filming with 120 frames a second. Even so, even though I'm filming in slow-mo, it does give you a little bit more latitude with like bounce and movement. I still really want to be as smooth as possible. Unlike the drone, which is obviously floating and it's already on its gimbal, even though the wind is blowing, this thing, you're holding it. So even though it's stabilized, of course, my steps as I move, things like that, oftentimes it can, you can see a little bit of bump in it. So just be really careful of that and adjust the follow speed accordingly. In my experience, I would say that the follow speed, there are different numbers. I like to go, I don't know if you can see that, but I like to go at a number 20. Follow speed. This is a slower follow speed. That way, the slower the follow speed, usually the less bumpy the movement is on camera. The faster the follow speed, the more rigid it is and the bumpier it is. So just be aware of that. So I like to go really slow with my follow speed. And the same thing goes with my drone. I'm going to go really slow. I'm going to go in the cine mode, which is the slowest mode of the drone, as opposed to sport, which is like the fastest mode. So anyway, I'm also going to shoot everything on this gimbal. With the R5, I'm going to shoot everything in with automatic focus. And the great thing about this camera is that it has a push button focus on the back of it, unlike some of the prior SLRs that had problematic focusing systems. This one's a beast. You just click on it, you basically just press on the button, or press on the screen where you want to focus, and it locks it, and then it tracks the person. So I've had really good success with the focus shooting with this thing and having it track and not really losing focus. It's really strong. So that's a great way to do it. And I think that I would always go automatic on this. This is one of the beautiful things, because you don't need, like when I'm filming with a huge production and we have an ARRI Alexa, which is a massive cinema camera, and it's this huge giant beast. It needs multiple people operating. You need somebody operating the camera. You need another first AC, like pulling focus. You have another AC assistant camera operator getting lenses and exchanging lenses and stuff. So you'll have multiple people operating. This thing, you just need one person. Honestly, it's not that hard. It does get a little heavy, so just be aware of that. And also, one trick for this, or one thing to be aware of, this guy, the R5, even though it films in 8K, it does overheat, especially in humid weather, humid conditions, just like we're in here in the Maldives. It overheats, and the overheating is less, believe it or not, it's less to do with heat. It's actually more to do with humidity. So I was just turned it on yesterday, and I didn't even film anything. I just had it on in the humidity for too long as I was kind of warming up a shot, and it overheated. So solutions for that, they did come out with a new model, the R5C, which is has a cooling system in it. Or what you can do is you can have, like in my case, I had my R5s modified. So one of them's modified, one of them's not. And I switched cameras to my other one that's modified. Kalari Vision has a way of adding a heat sink inside the camera, which I added, and that way it is modified to be able to reduce the heat from overheating the camera. Okay, these are all some really, really great questions, you guys. So, all right, let me get back to a few of these. Felinda Roy, amazing photographer, by the way. Felinda, you're a world-class photographer, and I know you jumped on as a panelist at the last webinar. And it was really awesome to see your work because you're an incredible resort lifestyle photographer. Beautiful work. And she asked a really great question. And by the way, I'm going to showcase her work just because I've worked personally with Felinda. And she's also taken advantage of these photographic strategy sessions with our photographic consultants. And I have, working with Priscilla, for instance, she has coached her into building this really refined and beautiful body of work. So Felinda, gorgeous website. This is shot at the Miami Beach workshop this last year. You did an amazing job. And Felinda asked, what do you say when you are making initial phone calls to the resorts after sending an email and you are leaving a message or sometimes talking to people? Excellent question. I love this question, Felinda. This is probably one of the best questions that I've had all day. Felinda, the best thing to say is to call them up and, well, first of all, I would email them. So I have your brand ready to go. So you got to have a world-class brand like Felinda does right here, because Felinda attended a workshop, completely transformed her entire portfolio with what she shot at the workshop. She had brilliant content. And now she has this really strong brand. Beautiful stuff he shot with top supermodels here, right? Sends an email, and I would even attach this picture to the bottom of it. So, and this was shot, I think this is in front of either the SLS or the Ritz-Carlton. It was one of those in Miami Beach. And I would, say you're approaching the Four Seasons, right? And you want to shoot for, say, Four Seasons Brickell, which is in Miami. So Four Seasons Miami. And you contact them. I would email them with an image like this at the bottom of the email. And then I would write an email just telling about yourself and just a brief email about, what are they doing next? Like, hey, I'm a resort lifestyle photographer that I think would be perfect for your brand. You've got, I'd love to know what projects, what you have in mind for your next campaign. I'd love to throw my hat into the ring. Say something like that. That's a nice wording. And when you email that to them, just a couple sentences, 1 to 2 sentences tops, and then a picture and a link to your website. And she has great branding here too. I love her branding, her logo, everything. And then Felinda, then I would call them and I would follow up with them and, and say it's, it's John, who is the director of marketing at Four Seasons in Miami, right? And I also know, they also have an ad agency. So sometimes they do stuff in-house. Sometimes they also work with their ad agency, right? So I would say, I would call them up and be like, hey, John, what's going on? This is Felinda. I was calling because, following up about this email where about the lifestyle resort campaign. And you're going to stop him and, oh, okay. Yeah. I think I saw that email. Yeah. I just shot this amazing content in front of the Ritz-Carlton, Miami Beach. And I think I'd be a perfect fit to shoot the next campaign for Four Seasons. I'd love to know what you had in mind for your next project. And then an open-ended question. Now they can tell you. And then sometimes they'll tell you. And then if they do, excellent. Now start asking them more questions. Start trying to position yourself so that you can be the one bidding on that next job and maybe even coming up with some of the creative with them. But generally, they're going to come up with the creative. Or if he says, hey, that's awesome. Great to hear from you. You have great work, Felinda. But we already have slated our shoots for the year. Oh my gosh, I totally get it. That's awesome, John. I'm glad. Are you guys shooting a full-scale campaign or are you just getting some shots for social? So you see what I'm doing? I'm asking them questions, whether it's for social media, whether it's going to be a big campaign. Oh yeah, we're going to do a little both. We've got a big social series of social shoots. We're also going to do a lifestyle campaign. Oh, that's fantastic. That's That's so good to hear. I'm glad you guys are investing in your lifestyle campaign. Well, I'll tell you what, I would love to stay in touch with you about the next one that you guys are going to be shooting, because I know that you guys do new projects all the time, and I'm sure you have a great team, but if anything changes with them, or, if you want to work with me in the future, I would love to be in the hat on the next project. So here, I'm going to send you, continue. Is it okay if I keep sending you some more content as it comes in? And what about your video? So, I know that you're shooting the photographic stuff, but have you booked a production company to film like a commercial spot for the hotel, or maybe even something that goes on the in-house TV? So the CCTV, oftentimes they film some videos that go on the CCTV in people's rooms. Ask them that. And that might strike a whole nother conversation. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they're looking for somebody. Maybe you could pitch that. And with amazing content, that you shoot with us, for instance, Felinda could pitch, that with video reels. So excellent. That's what I would do, and just keep going down the path. And if they're not interested, or maybe they're interested, but they want to, they've already booked their project, no big deal. Just keep following up. Keep following up and keep building great work. But Felinda, you're right on track. I'm really proud of you. Fantastic. All right. All right. So these are some great questions. I absolutely love it. Okay. So and Mark from Vietnam was asking, do you have any advice for work in Southeast Asia? Well, you know what, Mark, you're in a good position, because if you are in Vietnam and you're in Southeast Asia, there are so many luxury 5-star resorts in your region, and they are always looking to hire production companies and work with people that want to, film content, photograph campaigns. They're always looking to do that. Oftentimes, though, if it's a major brand, they're going to bring in, like Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons, St. Regis, any of these major brands, Alila, they're going to be bringing in people from other countries. So, for instance, I'm actually at Cinnamon Velifushi right now. It's a Sri Lankan run resort in the Maldives. And of course, they basically book everybody that works here, everybody that's probably doing their campaign. I imagine is probably Sri Lankan, because the entire company is Sri Lankan, and everybody around is Sri Lankan that's associated with the resort. So, that's great. It's South Asia. There's a major brand opportunity to go after, a brand like Cinnamon, because they're probably going to be working with production companies from this area. However, even though a lot of times they're going to be maybe spending a smaller budget for a lot of the local people, but they do spend some real money on their commercial campaign. Like, for instance, there's in the CCTV in the rooms, they have this amazing high budget commercial, which to me, I don't know the budget of it because I wasn't part of it, but it looks like their commercial was probably about $150,000 to $200,000 commercial. It was a very high end commercial, and it's something that I'm very impressed with. Actually, I think they did a great job, but I can tell that they're spending money. We want to be the production company that is going to be competing and getting the next campaign. That's where I would position yourself. So I would approach all these amazing 5-star resorts in Vietnam, in Thailand, in Indonesia, specifically Bali, and go after them, approaching them. But Mark, you've got to get the body of work. If you don't have the body of work, you're going to be shit out of luck. You're going to be competing against the best people in the world, and also people like me that, shoot for television shows and stuff. And there is sometimes there's a big disadvantage there if you don't have the level of content. So what I would suggest is building an unbelievable body of work with top models, just like we're going to have in Miami Beach, and shooting content that's at another echelon of quality. It's shooting stuff that's so next level that they can't ignore you, that they're going to be like, oh my gosh, like, Mark, you are the top guy. I have to fly you in to do this amazing production. Okay. So anyway, and I also want to show you guys, I know I've been talking a lot about just one type of shooting, but I also, of course, want to showcase some of the other stuff that we're doing. So we do these amazing workshops, not only on resort lifestyle, but also on fashion photography in New York. In September, we've got incredible productions where we shot this year at a $40 million mansion estate. and we're winning all these incredible awards. So we've been winning awards left and right, including Scott Goodwin that just won #2 Photographer in America award, which I'm so proud of, and Mike Weilet, who won #3 Photographer in America. Crystal Bear, she won, I think, maybe #7 or 8 in America. I mean, we are crushing it with all these awards. I mean, we just had another like 30 awards, winning awards that just came in, all from photographic workshops, which I'm so incredibly proud of. We also have these incredible productions, and a lot of the awards that have been won are not only from New York, but also our masterclass in LA, as well as this one, our Las Vegas workshop. We've been winning a ton of awards from this one, and we've also been getting a lot of publications. So I'm super proud of everything we've been doing. And by the way, the content that you guys are seeing here, from this amazing production, this is all shot by the attendees of the workshop using gimbals, using drones, using all this amazing content or equipment to shoot this top supermodels that have been in Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, Elle, and then creating this content that's so next level, it takes them to the highest echelon that they've always wanted to achieve in their photography. So it's super, super exciting. And I get really excited to see these photographers succeed and absolutely crush it. So anyway, so this gives you a little bit of a taste of some of the other photography we do, but these are all really great questions. Anyway, go ahead and shoot. I love this. Okay. Sorry, Singerman is making a comment about DJI RS2 gimbal stabilizer pro combo. I'm looking for the gimbal, but B&H shows something that looks different and is a DJI RS2 gimbal stabilizer pro combo used, but it doesn't look like your gimbal. You have extra things you added. Great question. So yeah, I basically just added the arms. They're not that expensive. They're like maybe $100 or something. I just added the little arms to this thing, and it's just an add-on to the gimbal itself. And I do like it. I think the arms are better, especially if you're not a big giant beast of a person that has that works out every day and has a lot of muscle, because this thing does weigh you down. I mean, if I'm holding it just with one hand, it's really, really, really heavy. And I've seen a lot of people struggle holding this thing. So having the two hands here really helps with the balance, the weight, and also the stability. So that would be my recommendation for that thing. And most importantly, it's great to have the equipment, but even more importantly, you've got to be able to know how to operate it and to have unbelievable stuff in your portfolio and in your video reel. Really, really critical and key. Because without that, it's what are you going to do with it? You've got to have that content to be able to book those amazing jobs. Really, really key. All right. So I want to also go back to showcasing some of this awesome stuff from what we've been filming here, because I'm, of course, really proud of all the incredible stuff. And then I'm going to show you kind of some sequences that we put together. So let's see here. I'm going to be showcasing a few more of the videos. And that way, and if you guys have any questions too on any of this content, I'd love to, of course, discuss. Okay. So anyway, so we've got all this, let's see, hold on. Let me pull up the right screen. And I want to showcase all of this amazing stuff. And these are just a few, obviously, raw clips. Oh yeah, I love this one that I'm about to pull up, because this is this is one where I used essentially the drone as a gimbal, because of course I can't stand over the water and hover and operate my Canon R5 with the Ronin. I'm using the drone to be able to go side to side and film this in slow-mo at 4K at 120 frames a second with with the figure there in the hammock. And I think we start off, this is all in super slow-mo, and then I'm basically see how I'm basically panning. I'm going from one side to the next. So I'm panning like right to left, then I go left to right, and I'm just going to take like probably 1.5 to 2 seconds of this, clip it together. So I'm going to have multiple segments going into the, oh yeah, here's also what I would call a parallax. I'm essentially tilting. I'm like, the drone is moving to the right and turning like a horseshoe shape all at the same time. This is a more of an advanced strategy. This is something that's a little bit harder to do, is to parallax, but it's something that I think looks really cool. So it has a very cinematic feel. And I use a lot of this when I'm filming with the drone. I can also do this with the gimbal as well. All right. Anyway, and of course, you know, you can use the drone to also shoot this with a photograph and do the same thing. And oftentimes, when I'm shooting with the drone, I'm also capturing stills as I go, just to get beautiful still shots all along the way. So I have amazing stills in addition to the beautiful, obviously, video as well. Okay, and then let's see. Here's another one that's. This is going to be a great shot for you guys to showcase for the resort itself. They love stuff like this, you know, where they have this beautiful swing. I heart Velifushi. Obviously, this would be a great, you know, could be a nice intro or could be a nice like segment to piece together within the video. Love stuff like this. Looks beautiful. A fun little thing. And maybe take it a step further and have, you know, a model swinging on it too, you know, or a couple in there could be really great. But just to give you a little bit of a taste, something like this. And of course, everywhere you look, the water is just perfect and absolutely amazing. Love it. Love it. All right. So, you know, hopefully you guys are learning a few strategies, and you're noticing there's a lot of different angles here, right? I'm shooting from different angles, different altitudes, you know, different places where I'm close, sometimes closer, sometimes further away. This is something, again, like this is shooting the pool here at CW and Velifushi. I shot this one today earlier today. And, you know, you can see a really interesting building and kind of interesting design as well. But anyway, so I love this, you know, shooting as much variation as possible, I think is really great. And putting it all together so that, you know, these are going to be pretty fast clips when you put together a final video edit and mixing it all together into this one epic moment where it can be, you know, a stunning sequence. All right. And I also love kind of an angle like this, where we're shooting something where, you know, it's a little bit tilted, something like this. Really beautiful design, really clean. Shooting this in slow-mo, you see the water is moving. Now, also you guys are noticing some of the shots I'm shooting in slow-mo, some of them I'm shooting in regular motion. The reason for that is that, you know, if you do everything in slow-mo, it almost gets a little redundant. And I feel like you need to speed it up a little bit here and there. So I'm going to shoot a variation. Sometimes it's in slow-mo, sometimes it's in regular motion. Sometimes I'll do both. I'll do in both, one in slow-mo, one in regular, with regular is 30 frames. And then I piece it together just because it's kind of nice to have some variation there. But you notice I'm tracking this back and forth, side to side in very smooth ways. So it's just very smooth, cinematic, and it looks extra slow just because it's shot in slow motion, but very, very smooth. And of course, I like that, just really, really subtle movements, just like you'd see in a motion picture. All right. Oh, and Felinda Roy makes a comment. Hey, I've been working out for the Newport Beach workshop. She's gonna be coming to that one to hold the gimbal. LOL. So that's fantastic, Felinda. I'm glad you're going to be nice and strong and ready to rock for Newport Beach in a few weeks. It's going to be absolutely epic. That's going to be a workshop that you guys are. It's going to be next level, completely over the top and ridiculous. And those of you guys who haven't attended any of these amazing workshops yet, I encourage you to take a look at everything that we do. Get involved with these workshops, because it literally will transform your entire life. It will take you to the next level. I'll be there to help you all along the way, help you operate all this equipment, show you how to art direct, storytell. Most importantly, the art direction and storytelling. And what I mean by that is all of the nuances with the posing of the models and the camera work and all that stuff. So really, really critical, important for all of that. All right, guys. All right. So Let's see. All right. Just reading through the questions. So if you guys have any other questions, love to hear them. It looks like a lot of them are coming from kind of all the same people. All right. And those of you, including Linda Houston, where you want more of a beginner's introduction, we also have a tremendous amount of amazing webinars on here that that I strongly encourage you guys to join us and watch. Not only after this webinar, we have about 70 other incredible webinars that were recorded live that are absolutely amazing. And I really encourage you guys to watch as many of those on all different subjects of photography. But there's some really beautiful gems on there, and I would encourage you guys to watch as many of those as possible. We try to do these every couple of weeks to give you guys as much value as possible, just to get you guys, in tip-top shape to be the best photographers that you possibly can be, and to achieve the greatness in your photography. Very, very important to me, and also to all of your successes, because I want you guys to achieve the greatest, the greatest level that you possibly can get to in your photography, because you guys all have more potential than you think, and I'm here to help get you to achieve that potential at a really high level. That's really, really important to me. So I want you guys to just think about that, because it's not something that a lot of photographers, they feel like, oh, this is all great, you get to travel the world and stuff like that. But you guys, I grew up in rural West Michigan in a village of 2,000 people. I had nothing. My parents didn't have anything. I, basically started from scratch, from nowhere. And I had to just claw my way through to get to where I am today. And it just took a lot of persistence. It took a lot of building relationships. It took a lot of marketing. It took a lot of, basically creating the opportunities for myself is what it took, which was not easy. And you've got to start by developing an unbelievable body of work, just like we're talking about at these on this webinar. Okay, so now I want to showcase to you guys, this is a little clip that I shot as well in the Maldives. This was the last time I was here, and I shot this awesome little clip where I'm giving you guys a little taste. We shot this on location at Cocoon, Maldives, and this showcases everything kind of put together in a nice little 2-minute segment, sizzle. And this has the talent walking through, beautiful slow-mo with the R5. You've got that overwater breakfast, and then, sorry, the banding here. Maldives internet. But having these incredible moments, walking down the boardwalk, up close shots with the R5, actions showcasing the villas, beautiful sequences throughout this.
Tell me what you hate about me. Whatever it is, I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right, and great question from Mark. He's asking, can I tell us about the crew you have in all these? Great question. So typically when we travel, if I'm shooting a big television show or a larger scale production in, say, Hollywood in LA, because that's where I live, we're generally going to have anywhere from like 30 people to 60 people on set. That's pretty common. But when we're doing a travel show, something like this, it's super, super light. Partly because we don't have the highest production budget, and partly just because it's all they can accommodate at these 5-star resorts with these overwater villas. They only have so many rooms. Yeah, and as you can see here, this is a little bit complicated because I'm filming and trying to guide her right here, where I'm filming and we're giving her cues to cruise through on the jet ski. And then also there was another sequence where I was up close filming her on a jet ski where I was on another jet ski and I was shooting with an R5. So it's really complicated. And then shots where I'm in it. We've got this clip doesn't have it, but where we'll have a camera operator operating with a camera operator operating with the an R5 on a gimbal. Might have a second camera operator from another angle. We'll have an audio tech recording audio, especially for doing the interview section of Great Escapes. And then somebody operating drone. And then we generally have like assistants helping out with everything. So we keep it super lightweight. And when we're doing stuff like this, it's typically, there's only about 6 of us. So it's very, very lightweight and very smaller scale production because it's all we can really accommodate. Anyway, I'll even show you guys my production reel. So this is something that you guys all need to have, whether you're shooting travel and resort, whether you're shooting fashion, whether you're shooting lifestyle. A reel like this is really, really important to have. And as you can see, this is content that has celebrities. It has some of my travel from my TV show, as well as commercials, campaigns, as well as content shot at the workshop. So it's got a big combination here, and this has been put together, and this has been landing these huge campaigns. This has been regularly landing these 6-figure ad campaigns. So I would strongly encourage to develop a reel just like this. And about half the content here was shot at the workshops. So if you want to build content that will book you these huge campaigns and offer huge opportunities, jumping and getting involved in our epic photographic workshops is definitely going to help you get there. It really will take you to the next level. It's something that is literally the highest echelon of the photographic quality productions that you've wanted. That's going to be absolutely key because that's what we offer at these epic workshops. And I just put in the chat a link to photographyworkshopseries.com as well, so you can kind of take a look at everything that we do. And obviously it's not just photography, it's also video. But I definitely encourage you guys to get develop an epic reel just like this.
That was fun.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So anyway, so throughout all of this, I want you guys to start, we talked about the marketing side. We talked about reach outs, phone call follow-up. We've talked about operating the gimbal, talked about operating the drone. We've talked about different movements we can use with the gimbal, as well as different movements we can use with the drone. And then most importantly, guys, it's packaging it all together and developing a brand that you can market to those resorts and be able to do this for a living and make huge amounts of money doing it. Shoot big campaigns and do your dream type of filming and photography. Really, really important. Yeah. All right. So, and these are all really great questions, guys. I'm still getting more questions rolling in. Sorry, Singerman, you're asking, are you shooting with this with your gimbal most of the time? Yeah, a lot of stuff is with the gimbal. We are doing a tremendous amount of gimbal action. I also do some of the stuff on sliders. So sometimes we have a giant slider where you slide the camera back and forth or forward to back. Sometimes we have a crane if it's a big enough production. But a lot of the travel stuff, we're traveling fairly light. So it's usually the R5 on a gimbal, and then the shooting with the drone is pretty much what we mostly do. And sometimes on tripod, but most of the stuff is gimbal and drone. It's primary. Okay. Sorry, I also asked one on the camera. We're asking about the R5. Do you think a Canon Mark III would work? Not mirrorless. I would say that yes, it can, but the Mark III, the video quality in that is not nearly even close to what the R5 has, and also doesn't have the best automatic focusing system. I think that was the big problem with the Mark II and the Mark III is the focusing system on those. I think the Mark IV got a little bit better, which I also have some of those. I think I have 2 Mark IVs, but the R5 is the best I've experienced. And most importantly, the quality is fantastic on that thing, especially the R5 or the R5C. All right. Luis Castillo, great to see you, buddy. You've attended some workshops. Thanks for the webinar. Nice to see you again. It's also great to see Priscilla on those images and modeling. Looking forward to continue to work together. Review my images from the masterclass and plan the future ones. Well, that sounds great, Luis. And also, and by the way, yes, that beautiful model and that you guys saw is also, she is going to be in attendance at most of the workshops this year. She works also as a production coordinator with us with Photography Workshop Series, and you'll get to work personally with her. And oftentimes you'll get to work with her on set. So it's fantastic. And she's handling more of the behind the scenes stuff on set because she understands and she helps develop and bring in all this production together. Thanks so much, Luis. And I encourage you to also set up a strategy session with Priscilla and go ahead and set that up in that link that I put in the chat. That way you can set that up, and I'd love for you to get on with Priscilla specifically, because I know you've been working with her. All right, guys, we've gone over a tremendous amount of stuff today. Hopefully you guys have got a little taste of what it's all about when we're filming and shooting all this incredible stuff in the Maldives, as well as all these other great places all around the world. There's a few other really kind of special clips that I did want to show you. These are kind of fun too. One of the unique things about the Maldives is we have seaplanes here. So the only way to get to the resort is via seaplane. And I love this shot. This is, of course, I planned this in coordination with Trans-Maldivian Airlines because I was actually also shooting as part of a collaboration. I was also shooting with Trans-Maldivian Airlines and featuring them. So this is pretty hard to do, but I'm tracking this plane as it's arriving, and I'm filming it going sideways and filming it like panning right to left and then going over the top of it. And I shot a bunch of different angles and directions of the plane, which looked really cool. We got some amazing stuff of the seaplanes coming in. And if you guys haven't taken a seaplane trip, it is probably one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life. It is so much fun just looking out the window and seeing the incredible atolls beneath you in the Maldives, which is over 1,200 islands. And there are about 200 5-star resorts. And of course, this is pretty next level. I would say that most of these resorts, I wouldn't even consider 5 stars. I'd actually consider them 7-star resorts, because most of them, for instance, the ones I've just been at, this week, they really make like a Four Seasons in America look like a Motel 6. It's that much better as far as quality. Okay, so you see, like as this plane's moving in, I redirected my drone, and now I'm filming little clips, little snippets of it moving into different directions. Sorry, it might be a little choppy on your screen there. And I'm kind of redirecting it. That's a nice little clip right there. I like that. I might take like 2 seconds of that right before the guy gets off. Cool. All right. Let's see. And then, of course, the Maldives is really well known for all these incredible overwater villas. I love to see. Oh yeah, here's some more of the seaplane. Love to see these aerial shots. This is the one that I'm in right now, and I'm in one of these villas as we speak. So I'm on one on the top side there, it's one of the sunrise villas, and it's kind of cool because the shape of the villas is shaped like a manta ray. Manta rays are really common here in the Maldives. You see a lot of manta rays, whale sharks, and we're also filming them too. So we're gonna be we film underwater using underwater equipment, shooting like snorkeling experiences that we're doing with manta rays, with whale sharks, with just fish everywhere. Unbelievable snorkeling and diving. It's honestly, it's a really special experience. I obviously love what I do. It's a really fun job. And as you can see, here's some other movements. This is a little bit more of a very clean shot from top to bottom, showcasing the manta shape of the resort and then the rest of the resort. This is again a Cinnamon Velifushi that I'm filming at, which is absolutely stunning. Beautiful location, and gives you an idea of the one island, one resort concept. It's spectacular, absolutely ridiculous. So anyway, and then of course some of the stuff that in addition to the resort, I got to film some content like this, which was just beautiful. Honestly, looks otherworldly. And this is more for, I'll probably cut this in, even though, I mean, this is more for the show itself. rather than like, this isn't probably something you would shoot for the resort because it doesn't have the resort in it. But this would be for my TV show, to give you an idea. All right. So you guys, hopefully I answered a lot of your questions. And if you guys have any further questions, I'd love for you guys to jump on one of those strategy sessions with one of our professional photographic consultants and go in depth about you and your photography and where you want to take it, whether you're doing aerial stuff, whether you're doing it on the ground, whether you're filming and photographing people, art directing sequences, we're here for you. So anyway, it was such a pleasure, guys. Thanks for joining me live from the Maldives. And I'm going to be coming back to California next week, and we're producing this massive scale production in Newport Beach. And I strongly encourage you guys to get involved in these mind-blowing experiences because they are an experience of a lifetime. And many of you on right now have attended them, so you guys know what they're all about. And if you guys haven't signed up for the next one, jump in and get on board, because the experiences we're doing this year, including, of course, my 49-room French castle, which I'm super excited about. I cannot wait for some of you guys to be there, because I know that some of you guys will be attending this, and I do really want to see you guys there, because obviously the French castle experience is going to blow your mind, and we're putting a lot into this. This is at my 49-room castle in France, in Massiat-en-Cambrai, built in the 13th century. And you'll be able to experience this amazing location, stay in my castle, and then photograph with supermodels from Milan and Paris. So it's totally ridiculous and over the top. I still somehow can't believe I have a castle in France, but it's a really incredible experience, and the production we're going to do here is literally out of this world. So I encourage you guys to get involved, whether it's coming to France, coming to Newport Beach, Las Vegas. We have one in Virginia. We have one in New York, Chicago, Miami. And then, of course, Los Angeles, our elite masterclass. We have some unbelievable experiences, and I look forward to seeing you guys here. So anyway, all right, guys, everyone have an amazing time, and I can't wait to see you guys at an upcoming experience. And make sure to set up your dedicated one-on-one Zoom strategy session with one of our professional consultants, and we can go over your images and also your vision for 2023 and how we can make your vision a reality, because that's what this is all about. Thanks, guys, for joining me for another incredible experience